The road to Cortina begins now. It's the biggest event of the 2024-2025 luge season. It's the 53rd FIL Luge World Championships from the Whistler Sliding Center in Whistler, British Columbia, Canada. Hi again, everyone. I'm Tim Singer. 163 athletes from 21 nations are here for the competition and for the award ceremony. This was the situation last night following the doubles event. The Germans, the great Tobis, on the podium for the 13th year in a row. They finished in third. Second place went to Team Latvia, Martins Bats and Roberts Pluma, but it was a young German team. Their first ever podium at only their third ever World Championships. Congratulations to Hannes Orlamunda and Paula Gubitz of Team Germany, the world champions. The doubles race was one of three held on day 2 of the World Championships. Men's doubles was followed by the women's doubles, and Diana Eitberger, pictured right there, has won a podium now at the World Championship in 5 different disciplines: women's doubles, women's singles, the sprint, the mixed events, and the relays. Germany in second and third with Degenhardt Rosenthal, but those two are the most dominating athletes in all of luge this year, as Selena Egla and Laura Kipp capture their second World Championship. Egla and Kipp have also won 6 races in a row heading into the World Championships. Now, women's singles, prime time sliding, the final event of the day. Emily Sweeney took bronze for the USA, but again, it was Germany controlling the action with first and second place Merle Frabro with her first ever podium, and Julia Talbot, her second World Championship, as Germany has really enjoyed listening to their anthem. So far at these World Championships, Germany leads the way in a big way with 9 total podiums. Austria has 3, the USA 2, and Latvia 1. We turn our attention now to the final day of action. Men's singles coming up in just a few moments. It will be 2 heats to decide the World Championship. The favorites, certainly among them, another German, Max Langenhan, who will be chased by his teammate Felix Loch, and 4 Austrians who twice this year finished 1, 2, 3, 4 in races on the World Cup. The final event of the day will be the team relay. That happens a little later on this afternoon. So hi again, everyone. Welcome to all of you tuning in live. You're missing a beautiful day here in Whistler. Once again, all week it has been gorgeous, but we're glad to have you with us. And I'm also glad to have, once again, as my co-commentator from Team Austria, the 2024 World Luge Champion, Lisa Schulte. Lisa, welcome back.
Hi, thanks for having me.
That's a lot of talking I had to do, so I'm going to throw it your way right now. What have been some of your thoughts that you take away, the good, the bad, and the fun of these World Championships in Whistler?
Well, we had amazing weather the whole time. It was really, really cold, and the track is in a great condition. For me personally, it was a bit of a tough time this week. I couldn't really just find my speed down the track, but it was still so much fun racing, and also seeing so many other people doing good. Especially, I'm really happy for Emily Sisko, who became 4th yesterday, which was great to see. And I'm really excited what brings today.
Remember, Lee, as Lisa was talking about, a Canadian, a young Canadian, just off of the podium, certainly one of the emotional moments of the entire day of competition. So we turn our attention, Lisa, to this men's competition, and you have 4 teammates, all of who could win a World Championship. How are you seeing the race?
Oh, I think it's going to be a close race, as always in Whistler. My personal, I think that Max will take the win today. And then I think it's really everything can happen, but I think there will be an Austrian on the podium. And then
I think that's a safe bet.
Yes. And also I'm really excited to see Dominik Fischnaller and the Latvian guys, Kristers and Gins. And also, I think Alexander Falazzo can be really fast today.
That would be a great story. So Lisa's referring to the Australian who had a career best 5th at last year's World Championship. Alex has got a lot of family here that have traveled 30 hours to watch him compete in today's men's singles event. There's a great look at the Whistler Sliding Center. It was started, the build, in 2005, completed in 2007. That's good for our Cortina fans to know that they can finish the track pretty quickly. And 2008 were the first runs, actually right there in the middle of the screen you just saw, a run they call Luder's Loop, where bobsled driver Pierre Luders crashed in the first day of testing. So Lisa, you are not as familiar with the top part of this track, of course, curves 1 through 6 or so, but we'll let you talk a little bit about the speed and the challenges until you get to the parts of the track that you're more familiar with.
Yes. So the track is a really fast track, especially the start is very important. And you make speed, especially the lower parts of the track. The upper part, it's still kind of slow. So here we can see the start going into the first curve. And on the top, it's still just trying to get into the flow, and just don't make any mistakes because you're still slow. As you can see, the speed is only building up really slowly here. And now we should be in curve 7, I think. Yes, and now we're on the straightaway, right into curve 9 and 10, and that's where you really start to gain the speed. And there in 11, you always have a little bit of a loop going into 12, and then 13 to 14. And now at the last 2 curves, it's 15 and 16, which are 2 right curves. And you can really lose speed right here because it's still far to the finish line.
2019 world champion Wolfgang Kindl told me a couple of days ago, if you make a mistake early, you'll lose a lot of time. If you make a mistake anywhere from curve 11 or down, you could lose a lot more than time. It gets very, very tricky down below. So we'll see how things unfold. Different races this weekend have yielded different problems on different parts of the track. There's a good look at the temperature. It remains below freezing. That's pretty key in keeping a fair, fast race, and somewhat comfortable for the spectators who have come from all around the world. How about that start record by Hannes Ludwig, the 2022 Olympic champion? That record was set, Lisa, 15 years ago.
Yeah, I think that's when I started sliding, actually. So it's been there a pretty long time.
30 have qualified for this year's World Championships. Only 20 will advance into the second run. So there's a lot at stake for these first 10 athletes. And then we move into the seeded group. And there's a look at all of the familiar names. Max Langenhan will start in position number 18. Jonas Mueller, who won the World Championship 2 years ago, will be the 20th to go. Felix and Nico will conclude the seeded group. At that time, we should have a pretty good idea how the standings will be. But this race, of course, Lisa, you've been there before. It's important for everyone, not just the seeded athletes.
That's true, yes. I think world champions are always something really special for every athlete. Even it's almost the same race compared to World Cups, but it's still a different feeling.
It's a different feeling, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, because on our YouTube chat, that has been one of the discussions on what makes the World Championships any different from the World Cup. And we'll talk about that a little later on, but we should say hi to all of the viewers tuning in. Ken is there, Kathleen, Steve, Logan, former luger, and Brittany saying hi to Lisa.
Hi, Brittany.
Your old friend Brittany. So we'll begin things off with the cheers from these spectators, because the first athlete you're going to see, you just saw a big cardboard head of him. This is Theo Downey. Theo, 19 years old. He's been bouncing back and forth this year between the Junior World Cup and the senior level. Theo said earlier in the week there are a lot of people who wouldn't be willing to put in the time and the effort, but that's what it takes to be in this sport. You've sort of got to live and breathe it, don't you?
That's true.
Race is underway. A shout out as well to Hunter, who's watching today from Oberhof. as Theo Downey, 19 years old. He is from the Alberta province, which is just east of British Columbia here in Western Canada.
And the ice looks really good today, so I think we're going to see some really fast times, and now he's going into curve 7. And so far it looks like a smooth run right there. Maybe that was a little bit too early into 11, but still doing a great job. It looks like he feels comfortable. I mean, it's his home track, so they really know what they are doing here.
No question about it, as the entire world of athletes have had a couple of opportunities this year to train here before the World Championship, but the Canadians have had extra time, to be sure. 50.815. Team Canada had the entire preseason here. They also had an extended holiday break. They skipped the race in Sigulda to train some more here. And then last race of the World Cup Oberhof, I don't believe they were there as well. So a lot of runs here.
That's true. Really trying to get their home advantage, which is a great idea. And I think it worked out for them already with Emily. So their plan is working.
Yeah, I believe 3 of the 4 women were in the top 20. That was very exciting. Trinity Ellis was 13 as well. So Theo done, at least for run number 1, and we'll see if he cuts it in for a second heat. Marian Skupek now, the first of 2 Slovakians today. He finished 9th in what was not a Nations Cup, but it was still a qualifying race on Friday, as all of the non-seeded athletes took part in a competition to determine their start order today. There's a lot of steering on this men's start ramp.
Yes, it looked like he was a bit too far on the right from my perspective right there. But he's still in the green. I haven't seen his start time.
It's 7.11. So that's about 2 or 1800ths off of the start record. If anyone sets that start record today, I suppose it could be Tucker West of the U.S. Felix's starts have been good this year.
Yes, he's really been improving his starts over the last years, which is really impressive.
Yeah.
I was a bit late into 16, and I think I saw a little skid right there, but he made it a clean exit. But he's in the red by a 10th of a second.
Losing a bit of time for Team Slovakia. Unfortunately for the Slovakians, there are no female women's competitors in singles nor doubles. And we used to see Slovakia a lot in the team relay, but unfortunately they'll be packing up the sleds after this men's singles race.
Yes, it's really sad to see that they can't establish a team anymore, because yeah, I feel like team event is one of the coolest events to watch and to compete in. So the more nations, the better.
And you've had an opportunity this year, more than any past year, to take part in some relays. So it's been a great year for you, Lisa. With, what is it, 5 podiums? 6?
I think it's 5 podiums.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been fun to slide this year so far.
22-year-old Alex Gufula, the first of the Italians in today's men's singles world championship. And it's a good time to tell everyone there is a race within the race. It's called the under 23 race. It sounds like an arbitrary number, but the FIL sport people have picked 23 as that oldest of ages where you finally become a full-fledged senior. Until then, there are still a lot of lessons to be learned.
Yes, so it's great that you can have some success with people your age. It's great to establish in the national team, I think.
And then, of course, if your name is Agla Kip, you win the under 23 championship as well as the overall world championship.
Yes, they've got quite some medals to bring home right now.
Big lead right now for Gufula over Downey.
It was a bit late and too early into 13. Now really high in the end of 14. And a late entrance to 16, but I think he got a nice exit. Yes, he did a good job correcting that one.
So 500s, he holds on to his lead, although giving away a little time down at the bottom. Armin Zugler lets us know what he thinks of that run. And you've got the trained eye, Lisa, so you're saying a little late, a little early. And I won't ask you to show us where and how, but what does it mean if you're late? or early?
Right there, he was late into curve 12, so that's he got a lot of height in the end of 12, which makes him going too early and bump into 13, and there he had to put his feet down to get back control over his sled, and that's where you can just lose time. He did a good job correcting it though, because that's where you have your high speed section of the track, and any mistake could lead to a crash right there.
We haven't seen a lot of crashes, which has been good news. American doubles, women's doubles team had a crash. That may be the only significant crash of the weekend.
Yes, I think that's true.
On course now, Team Poland. We'll see them later in team relay as well. This is their long-time men's singles representative, Maciej Sokovic. And a quick question to you, only because everyone's asking about it, Lisa. What are your thoughts about what makes the World Championship different from the World Cup? Because a lot of other sports will have 4 runs or something added or extra, but this closely resembles the World Cup. Why is this special to you?
It's special to me because I feel like World Champs, it's one race a year where you can win your medal. And if you're getting World Champion, you will stay World Champion forever, which is great. And also, it's I feel like just thinking about World Champions has a higher ranking for me personally. So yeah, I think that's about it.
There's a lot of prestige. Big support crew with Claudia Domorodska and the doubles women down below, as Maciej had some issues on the outrun. We talked about only one significant crash, but there have been a lot of bouncing back and forth after the finish line, and that will matter later today in the team relay.
It definitely will. It's gonna be hard to get a clean exit to hit the touchpad. I think in the mixed team, it wasn't too many people who had big problems out of 16, but in the singles and doubles races, there have been quite a lot of problems right there. And he just skidded and hit the wall one time before he crossed the line.
So it didn't cost him a lot of time, but that was a little bit of bouncing back and forth. So Maciej finished for his run number 1 as Leon Felder gets that shield ready, grabs the handles for his first run. Earlier this week, Leon mentioned that he had to say that when he was in Whistler for the first time, he was really scared. He mentioned, and you probably can agree, you only hear the stories about how fast it is here. It's not until you're on the ice do you really get a sense.
Yes, that's true. It's a really exciting track, and Leon just started. He's a 10th behind Sochowicz, who is a really strong starter. And now he's making his way into corner 7. He lost a bit more time right there, but the lines are looking clean so far.
He's 25 years old from the small town of Latsfons in very northern Italy, the Sud-Tirolian region. See if he can pick up any time here. He was 1500s back. Is just not gaining enough, is he?
No, it's. I think he didn't really find speed in that run right there. It looked like a clean run to me with no major mistakes, and he
did cut into the lead. So I guess he just dug too deep a hole for himself early, but he cut about half of that lead off at the end. Should be good enough for a top 20, but what do I know?
Yeah, I just saw in the slow motion that he was too early into 13 and kind of picked up his sled a little, which isn't great, but shouldn't cost too much time. But it's just here in Whistler, the start is so important that you have a fast start time, so you're competitive. And yeah, I don't really know about this start, about the geometrics right there, but for people who are bottom gainers, what we say, if you can take speed on the bottom of the track, it's hard to find speed here.
Well, get ready for a study in courage. This man, the first of the 4 Germans in today's race, broke his leg 4 weeks ago, David Nussler, and he took the last 2 weeks off, raced 2 days ago with a broken leg, and then everyone cringed, Lisa, as he came up the outrun, hitting back and forth on the wall. Now 2 days later, here he is again. He's got to give it his all, but he is damaged goods. If I'm not mistaken, he had some trouble there at the start, didn't he?
He did. I think he touched the wall a little bit right there. It looked like he couldn't get a straight way on the start, and that's why he lost so much time already in the upper part. which I think it's going to be hard to find any speed right now, even though the run looks solid right now.
He's picked up 700s, but again, he could run out of track before he turns into the green.
Okay, but he made a clean exit of 16.
He almost picked up on Sokovic there. He picked up a lot of time, as Diana and Lena tell us. That was close, and they're just happy. I think that's what Diane was referring to. They're just happy he stayed off of the wall.
Yes, I think it's, I saw him right after the team competition, and I think he hit his ankle again really hard. And that must hurt so much. Right there you can see he's really far on the left side and hit the wall a little bit. And he was really lucky he didn't hit the other wall on the other side right there. But other than that, the run looked clean.
Sure. It probably could have been about a 1500th of a second lead had it not been for that problem at the start. So unfortunately for David Nussler, not the lead, potentially a top 20 as we see him limp off. A study in courage following the crash and the disqualification on Friday. Now the first of two from Ukraine, Anton Dukash. Anton, 29 years old, very excited, he said, for the World Championships because it's the fastest track in the world. And he says you have to race here filled with adrenaline. You know what that word means in English, right? They said, they're all pumped up.
Yes, and I think he's had a great season so far. He did some great World Cup results. And I think also what I saw from the training times that he can be fast on this track. So I'm excited what we will see right here.
Two top 10s on the World Cup this year, including an 8th in Winterberg, and a very respectable 12th place finish at last year's World Championship.
And he already started picking up some speed. It looks like it's like a good run. Smooth transitions right there. And going into the last two curves. Oh, that was a bit late to 16, but I think if he'll manage to exit just fine, he'll be in the green. There we go.
Good call, he says. He was in the final few meters of the track. 50.5 at 9.4 by 800ths of a second. Ukraine's Anton Dukash takes over first place with his teammate getting ready to go at the top. So to your point, if you can keep it clean down below, we might expect to see some red clocks turn green.
It's possible, especially because Mateusz, who was in the lead before, hadn't a clean run down there. So if you have a clean run, you can definitely be in the green down there. And he seems happy about it.
Our thoughts always with the Ukrainian athletes and all of their friends back home in Ukraine. Now Andre Manzi up, 36-year-old. Veteran of 3 Olympic Games and part of a very special day for Team Ukraine earlier this season in Latvia, as you will recall pretty well, Lisa, as they ended up on the podium.
Yes, they did a great job there. And I think Manzi had a little bit of a crash this week's in trainings, where he had a little cut on his leg, but I think he's fine now. And I just saw that he was a little bit too early into start curve, but now it looks like a good job. And he's just 100th out of 14 right now.
Ukraine against Ukraine. Andre Manzi moving into the green now.
That was a bit too early on 11 and really high in the exit, but he managed it.
He's down by just 300, so it's still possible, although Dukash was really steady down here. So losing a little more time, Andre Manzi, at least for the moment, falling behind Dukash in the effort to be part of the relay a little later on today. This is a tough track. Some of the key tracks in the air around the world, we know the exit of 9 in Altenburg, and we know the chicane in Lake Placid and the S's in Königssee, but it's hard to recognize. I'm glad I have you here because a lot of these corners look the same to me.
Yes, it's hard for me as well when they go from men's start because I'm counting the curves until I see the ladies start, so I know where exactly they are. But I think it's a really cool track and a fast track, but also not a lot of people have a lot of runs here, which makes it even more exciting.
Men's singles continues here at the World Championship. Tim Singer along with Lisa Schulte. And if you walk around Whistler, you will see dozens, if not hundreds or thousands of Australians. But the most important Australian in town right now is this man, Alex Ferlazzo, coming off of a 5th place finish at last year's World Championship.
And he had some really good trainings, what I've heard of. And he's already in the lead by 1/1200 of a second. And it looks like a smooth run so far. Going into corner 10, really good position on the sled, and he looks comfortable on the sled.
At least 10 family and friends have traveled from down under to watch Alex compete here at the World Championships. Let's see how big a lead this can be as he comes to the finish. 142 kilometers an hour, losing a little time, did he? To Dukash down at the bottom, but still hanging on to the top spot by 1/10 of a second. And comfortable on this track, as Lisa mentioned, because Alex has been training with the Canadians for the last couple of seasons.
Yes, right there on the start, there was a little insecurity because he was really far on the left side, and it was a bit too early onto 13. I think that's why he's not really that happy in the finish, because maybe I think he expected a little more of his run here.
Our good friend Raluca watching on the live stream, showing her support for Alex. And now we'll get a really quick sense to see how good Alex's run was, because this man was the only one faster than Ferlazzo 2 days ago in the qualifying race. Johnny Gustafson, the first of 2 from the United States. Johnny, 27 years old. His family has also traveled to Whistler as well. Johnny opened up the season in spectacular fashion with a 5th place finish at the World Cup. And he was on the podium just a couple of days ago in the mixed singles competition with Emily Sweeney, his first World Championship medal.
Yes, the Americans have doing a great job here, and I feel like I think they've been here in the preseason for some training, and they look great sliding. And also Johnny's doing a good job as he's picking up speed in the lower part of the track.
1/1000th of a second separating Australia from the USA. Now Gustafson moves into the lead. Not a perfect line across the finish line, but staying off the wall. 200ths of a second the advantage. So these athletes that had to qualify for these start positions on Thursday pretty much holding to form, with Gustafson ahead of Ferlazzo, Dukash, and Sokovic as we now move into the seated athletes. Johnny with that long, tall body, almost the physical opposite of Wolfie Kindl.
That's true, yes. we have a lot of different body types in luge right now.
You and Maddie, right?
Yes.
There's no one type of body that makes for the great luger.
Not perfect. We can make a better run too, for sure.
Not perfect, but seemingly satisfied. Here is definitely one of those favorites in this under 23 World Championship race. 21-year-old Timon Grancagnolo, number 3 on the Germany depth chart. And he has a little bit of a flirtation with the wall as well on the start ramp.
Yes, that was like, he was too far on the left, and then I don't know if he really touched the wall, but maybe slightly, and that just cost so much time up there.
Like Johnny Gustafson, Timon opened up the season in Lillehammer with a career best World Cup result. He finished in 4th place, just off of the podium.
Yes, he's really been improving compared to the last years. He's still really young and has a lot to learn, I think, especially on tracks where he haven't had so many runs. But right now in the lower part, it looks like a solid run. But it was just too much on the start that he can pick it up in the lower part of the track.
This is looking like it'll be 8th or 9th. Oh, he picked up some time down below. We saw Nussler do that as well. So you've got to believe that if Max and Felix are watching, they're somewhat pleased with the sled setups.
Yes, I think we've seen yesterday that the German sleds are really working out this weekend. So I think Germany might have like a favorite position here for this race.
Everyone's talking about Max, but someone, and I don't remember who it was, told me last night that look out for Felix.
Yes.
Felix has been quietly on the side this weekend, but
Ja, scheiß Start. Zum zweiten Mal ist besser.
Yes.
Meine Güte.
Oh, yes, he was talking about the start. I think he's really, not happy with that start, but he said he's going to do it better in the second run.
he and David had pretty much the same run, the two Germans that have gone down right now, and they're currently sitting in 4th and in 7th place. Josef Ninis, a 5-time Olympian. His best world championship finish ever was a 12th in Sochi in 2020. He is one of only 4 athletes of the 163 here in Whistler that actually spent some time taking runs from the very top of this track before they move the men's start down. So he knows all about speed. I don't know what speeds they hit, Lisa. I know the bobsleds hit 150 kilometers an hour.
Yes, I think the fastest man here is Manuel Pfister, an Austrian. He has the record with, I think, 154 kilometers per hour. If I'm right, I'm not entirely sure about
That
it.
sounds close. Ninis was nearly a quarter of a second back. He often picks up time down below, but he's just losing a little more on the American Gustafson.
Hitting a bit of the wall right there. And 3/10 is actually, maybe on other tracks it doesn't seem like a lot, but here in Whistler 3/10 is quite a lot, because you could be 1/10 back and be maybe even 10 spots behind.
That's right. But on the plus side, on some tracks you make one little mistake and it costs you a 10th. Here it probably costs you 200ths.
That's true.
If it's and again, that's all relative. That's if it's a little mistake.
Yes, that's true. But he had a really good position on the sled, and it looked like what I've seen, a solid run. So maybe in the second run he can pick up some more speed.
9th place right now for the 43-year-old Josef Ninis. Now the first of the Latvians, Gins Berzinch. He hasn't done a lot of runs here in Whistler. He finished 11th last year at the World Championships in Altenburg. Gins admitted it would be a little scary here this week, but he has a good start time to at least give himself an early advantage over the American.
Yes, he's a really strong starter. There was a little insecurity and was a bit too late into this curve. But he sometimes is a bit insecure in the track, and he still makes a lot of mistakes. He's still young and has a lot to learn. But I think he had some good results this year, which maybe gives him some more confidence for sliding.
The Latvian sled setup has been very good this weekend, and that hasn't been the case at some other stops this year. Latvia with a silver medal yesterday in men's doubles. Berzinch giving up a little time to Gustafson right now. This could be pretty tight by the time he hits the finish line. He actually opens up a little more. Good news for Latvia, as they are 500s up into the lead, as we are now into the seeded group of athletes. Yeah, he had a season's best 6th place finish. He had that twice in Sigulda and in Altenburg, back-to-back weekends. Second fastest time, without looking, do you know who still has the fastest time? Mateusz Sokovic.
On the start, yes.
Yeah.
He's a great, he's all season. He's been in really good positions at the start. He's a really strong starter.
First of the Austrians now getting ready at the top, with Berzinch of Latvia in the lead over the USA and Australia. Nico Gleirscher, the 2018 Olympic gold medalist, said earlier in the week that generally speaking, he wouldn't count Whistler as one of his favorite tracks. He's had some pretty decent results here. That was going into the weekend, but already he stood on the podium with a bronze medal in mixed singles with Madeline Egla 2 days ago.
Yes, and he just had a little mistake on the start. I think he missed the spot where he wanted to lay down. So now he's a bit in the red.
Now we'll get a pretty early indication, Lisa, on how well your coaching staff has set up these sleds, because there have been some races this year where look out, about halfway down, the Austrians just ran away from everyone.
Yes, I'm really excited to see as well what happens here. And he's gaining some speed, but he's having a great run so far. With a good position on the sled, and there he's in the green.
David Gleirscher, now 200s up.
That was a really late entrance into 16.
He stayed off the wall, but he hugged that right wall, and there's a sense of if that'll cost you. So he gives away about 500-600s as a result of not really hitting anything, but just the friction.
Yes, especially going late into 16, there's so much more way you make in the track, which just loses you some time. And also on the start, this little insecurity, but he fixed it well. So I think he has something to improve for the second run. But I'm not sure if that time is enough to keep up with the really fast ones today.
That'll be determined in the next 7 or 8 sleds to come down now. 3 more Austrians still waiting at the top, but we get set for our second and final American. Tucker West finished just off the podium by 600ths of a second last year at the World Championships in 4th place. He also finished 4th at the World Cup here.
He's a really strong starter, so I'm excited for his start time.
One of his 3 World Cup career victories was here. Second fastest start time, 2,000ths of a second behind Sokovic. That's a little quick into the red.
Yes, I'm not sure if maybe we haven't seen something in the start curve, maybe a little skid or something, I'm not sure. And also the exit of 7 wasn't great.
Tucker not even 30 years old yet, but it seems like he's been on the World Cup forever. He started as an 18-year-old, made the Olympics at age 18. 800s back, he's looking right now at about a 5th or 6th place finish if he can keep it clean. 5th, 50.508, as you see, 1800s behind the leading Latvian, Jens Berzic.
Yeah, he just kept losing time over his run. I didn't see any major mistakes right there, but I think that's a problem he has like for a few years right now, that it's really hard for him to find the speed in the tracks.
And there was a time when you were first starting out, Lisa, that he had no problem with the speed. And that just frustrates athletes, doesn't it, when you don't know why?
It does, and that's the weird thing about luge. Sometimes you just can't find what's wrong with your sled or your setup in combination with your sliding. Sometimes it's really hard to find the reason why it's not working.
The World Championships continue from Whistler, Canada, as we have the Olympic bronze medalist grabbing the handles from Team Italy. He's 31-year-old Dominik Fischnaller. Very excited, he said, for the Luge Worlds here, because back in 2013, this was where he competed for the very first time at the World Championships, the only other time the Worlds were held here.
Italy, the 4th fastest start we've seen today.
Dominik will sometimes give away a bit at the start, the 4th fastest start time, but if he's smooth here the rest of the way, look out.
Yes, and he's already started to gain some time on Gins, and it looks like a really smooth run so far with a good position on the sled, and he's already in the green right there. Oh, and back into the red.
Back and forth. So 200ths of a second. Let's see how these lines are. He's back into the green. This is what I love about these races. Red to green to red and green. It's like a highway in a traffic jam, but nothing jamming him up.
Now he's having a really clean run, and with almost 700ths advantage in the finish, so I think that's a strong time right there, because the Latvian sleds were really fast this weekend as well, so we will see.
Great showing for Dominik. Just yesterday, his fiancée, Emily Sweeney, took a podium position in the women's singles. Just surprisingly, only 1 podium this year on the World Cup so far for Fischnaller. A 1-time seasons champion on the World Cup overall.
Yes, I think in the men's field it's really hard to compete against the Austrians and Germans right now.
That's right.
To get into that pack, but he's been the only one who can keep up with them, so I think, yeah, I don't think he's entirely happy with his run or time, but now Wolfie is coming, and he can be really fast in the track, so maybe.
Kindl had a disappointing 22nd place finish last year at the Worlds, but he's the 2019 World Champion, or 2017, I should say, when the Worlds were last held in Eagles. He gives away a bit at the start. His starts had improved over the years, but he's still nursing some injuries.
Yes, from his crash in Altenberg, and he's not the strongest starter, but he's always close enough so he can make it in the track because he's such a great slider, and that's what maybe he'll show us hopefully today. So far his run looks really clean and with such a great position on the sled. It was a bit too early into 11 and now also too early into 13.
Still pretty tight. 900s probably can't be made up totally, but he could cut into this lead as he loses just a little bit more time. Aside from that World Championship, Wolfie also has 3 podiums, all bronze in men's singles, and an Olympic medal, just as Dominik Fischnaller has. They won 2 of the 3 in 2022.
Yes, he had some small mistakes in the track. This line was really nice into 9, but there in the end of 11, there was yeah, it was an okay height, but it was a bit too late into corner 12 right there, and then just too early to 13.
Max Langenhan, certainly the pre-race favorite, although not a prohibitive favorite, because there are a lot of good athletes in today's race and some still to come. But Max has 3 victories this year on the World Cup. He leads in the points. He's the defending world champion and also the defending winner on this track at the World Cup last season in Whistler. The German now already into the lead by 0.05 of a second.
That was a really strong start right there.
Lisa, as you know, there have been some races where he didn't just win them. He won by 3/4 of a second.
Yes, and now he's already 1:10 in front of Dominik, and I think he will just build his advantage if he's having a clean run.
The 25-year-old from Oberhof now 0.2 of a second up on everyone.
And he's showing a really clean run, good position on the sled, and it's getting more and more. So I think that was a bit late into 16, but it won't hurt his time too much.
Perfection from Max Langenhan. He actually lost a couple of hundredths to Fischnaller on the last curve. That's probably why he's shaking his head.
Yes, I'm not sure if he's shaking his head because he can't believe he's so fast, even though he made those mistakes, or if he's really unhappy with his run.
That's right.
I'm not sure.
One thing I do know is him shaking his head is about the most emotion we ever see from Max, because he's a very, very calm guy.
Yes.
Even when we had him in here last night for the interview with the commentary, he was just so relaxed, just so ready to go today.
Yes, maybe that's his strength, just being calm.
Fill us in there.
Oh, he said that it was too late into 15, and then also that's what we saw, that he had a late 16, which could be because of the late 15. Yes, I think it's really hard that Max will be satisfied with a run of his own because he's really critical with himself.
Kristers Aparjods of Latvia with 5 World Cup victories to his credit and a youth Olympic gold medal, but he's still looking for his first podium ever at the World Championships. Kristers does have an Olympic medal in team relay from 2022.
I think I saw a little mistake on the start in his last paddle, that he couldn't really finish it, and he also was almost more than a 10th back at the start already. So now he's just keeping losing time on Max.
This is a bit of a surprise. Kristers was on the podium last year at the World Cup here in Whistler, but you may recall, Lisa, he had a crash at the World Championships last year. Didn't get a second run, so He was probably thinking about that all year, and 7th place right now is, I'm sure, not what he was hoping for.
No, definitely not. He can be really fast. This year, I think it just hasn't been his season so far.
He had the 2nd place on his home track. That's really been his only shining moment, for Latvia singles at least.
Yes. So I'm not sure what happened at the start there, because usually he's a really fast starter, and he was already there over 10th back behind Max, and that's something you can't gain in a track like Whistler.
Well, our next athlete could certainly be one of the best challengers to Max Langenhan. Jonas Mueller has been a big game player with a world championship 2 years ago in Oberhof, also a silver medal at the Worlds. He has 2 World Cup victories this season. So a fast Jonas is about as good as anyone not named Langenhan.
Yes, and he's a really strong starter, so I'm excited to see his time.
Best of them all so far.
But he's already in the red right there.
It's almost as if Max had a motor in his sled, because he turned green early and just kept running away. Now, we have seen the Austrians pick up time on the bottom part of the track a lot this year, so let's see what gives here.
So far he keeps losing time, even though his run looks solid right there. But he just can't keep up with Max. I'm excited to see if anyone can keep up with Max today.
Maybe Felix still
maybe
to come.
Felix, yes, because that from Jonas, except a little touch of the wall right there, was a solid run.
2nd place, but a distant 2nd place. Jonas also has his family here watching the action, and his girlfriend, who actually does not live that far from Whistler, maybe a 3-hour, 4-hour drive.
Yes, I think she's from Seattle. Yes. She's also, and Christian sliding.
Yeah, once a slider, always a slider.
That's true. I think he's excited with Jonas's run and really happy with that one. His start is so strong because he's really, all his strength goes into the pedals and the handles right there. And also the run looked really, really good.
For Germany's Felix Loch, a 2-time Olympic gold medalist, a podium, a medal of any color today will make him the all-time most decorated athlete in the history of the World Championships. He's currently tied with Armin Zugler with 10 podiums. The 2 of them are also tied with 6 World Championship gold medals. So some history at stake now for the German Felix Loch.
Yes, and he also had a really strong starting time, just 200ths of Max Langenhan, but he also starts losing time in the upper part of the track already. I think he knows this track really well. He's been here quite a couple of times.
He won an Olympic medal on this track, but he is also losing to Max Langenhan, who is in a universe unto himself.
But he's having a solid run right there, going into a nice entrance into 16, and a really good exit right there.
Felix did pick up some time on his protege, teammate, and friend down below, but not enough. Enough certainly to give Germany the top 2 spots, with one more seeded athlete from Austria still to come.
Yes, and his dad, Norbert Loch, is also here, and he looked really satisfied right now with the performance of Felix. So,
longtime head coach of the German program, Norbert Loch, before retiring at the end of last season. Felix at least has sent the message to Max that you make any little mistake in run number 2, and I'm coming after you.
yes, 1200s are quite a lot for a Whistler, but I think that's probably the closest someone will get. But now Nico is coming, and he's been on the podium a lot this season. He's been really constant and just sliding really well so far.
For a while, Nico had the lead in the World Cup standings. Then he and Max were tied for first place. Now he's about 40 points out with 2 World Cup races remaining. But 2 victories for Nico Gleirscher. His brother has already made his way down. Their father, a former Olympic athlete from Australia, is also on hand here in Western Canada.
And he had a good start into the track, and it's looking solid. really good position on his sled. And he's 400 behind. I think that's an okay time compared to the others.
That's closer than Felix was a moment ago. So all things being considered equal down below, this could be a second place time. He still needs to be clean.
It looks like a really good run down there.
What this is shaping up to be for run number 2 is an incredible battle for second place right now.
Oh,
Nico
wow.
picked up a lot of time down below. His speed, 88.8 miles per hour, not the fastest, but speed doesn't necessarily mean everything from track to track. But a good run. You've got to be pleased with what you saw at the bottom part.
Definitely, I didn't expect it to like that because everybody lost so much time on Max down there. So it's really impressive. But he had a really good line down there with great position on the sled. And he's been showing off all season that he can be really fast. So that's great.
As we move out of the seated group, I will tell you that the top 10 in the leaderboard basically mirrors what we've seen at almost every World Cup race this season after one run. You have 2 Germans, you have 4 Austrians, you have the Italian Fischnaller, and then you have Gustafsson and Aparjods mixed right in there. It's Max Langenhan leading over Nico, then Felix Loch in third. Those are the top 3. We'll tell you much more coming up in a bit as we segue back into the non-seeded group. This is Seiya Kobayashi of Japan. And really quickly, just to let everyone know, Lisa, if you want to follow on the stats, if you go onto the FIL's webpage, fil-luge.org, hit on the live ticker and you can see the results as you're watching the video. Seiya has been training with the USA this year.
Yes, which is really great. He's doing a good job sliding this season. And I think since they had some training runs here, he's doing a great job, even though there was a lot of height in the end of 11 right there. But he found his way back to a good line. And now going into the last corner right there. Oh, and hitting the wall.
See, he had this problem 2 days ago in the mixed singles, and as a result, he missed the pad. He cleaned it up a lot more quickly here. And right now, Seiya comes through.
22nd.
22nd. So he will not see a second run. And as we continue to watch the final few athletes, the final 8 in this run, I can tell you that sitting in 20th place right now is Alex Gufla of Italy. So Seiya through for the day. Unfortunately, no team relay for a man who is a one-man national federation at the moment in the sport of luge. Here's Sweden's 26-year-old Svante Koala. It's been a great year for Svante and his sister.
Yes, they've been doing a good job sliding. They've had some really good results, and I really hope he's having a clean run. What I've seen, he had some tough trainings here. But hopefully he can make a clean run right now and qualify for the second run.
Yeah, you hit it exactly. He hasn't had the best times so far to match what he's been doing on the World Cup. Both he and his sister had career best 11th place finishes at the last World Cup in Oberhof, Germany.
Yes, they told me that they almost had the same results every weekend they were racing. So we will see what happens today. I really hope he can make up some time at the bottom. He's been quite far back on the start in this run, but he's doing a solid run right now, and he's already 7/10 back.
Right, and you need to be about 70 hundredths back or better at the finish to be in that top 20. That's not going to happen, unfortunately, for Svante Koala. One and done. And the reason you're seeing Lisa's head coach Christian there is because Tova and Svante have been training all season long with all of you.
Yes, for the past years they've been training with us. Also in the summers they come join us for some start trainings, and yeah, they are part of our group.
Beautiful look at the background, the coast mountains here. That spectacular weather. And these luge fans showing their appreciation for all of the athletes from all of the nations. Welcome to the big time, Bastian van Loo. We know nothing about this young Canadian. He's 18 years old from Calgary. He's competed on the Junior World Cup. No World Cup experience, but he took advantage of a possibility in a slot. I believe he was just going to come here in forerun, but ended up making it onto the World Championship squad.
Yes, that's what I've heard too. To be honest, I've never seen him before, so it's really exciting for him having his first race at World Championship on a home track, which is great. So I'm excited what we will see here.
0.5 of a second, that's a half second behind. Again, we will not expect anyone to challenge for the top 10 among those remaining sleds, but top 20 is what they have their sights set on.
Yes, and Bastian is doing a great job here, having a solid run. Maybe a bit too late into 13 right now, and late into 16. And he lost a lot of time, but he's still really young, and I think it's just about experience right here, sliding with the big guys. And I think he looked happy, and I think it's great having world champs at home for the first race.
And a great experience for Bastian. But unlike yesterday's women's singles, where there were some delightful results for the home crowd, unfortunately here for the men, none of the 3 men's singles competitors will qualify for the second heat. One is close, 21st place, Theo Downey, but close is not enough.
Yeah, that's tough.
Unless someone is overweight.
But I think we should have heard that by now if somebody would be disqualified. And I think especially if world champs are up, everybody's very excited and weighing everything again.
You know, Lisa, a real sign of holding things in perspective in the sport is Eddie Krejcian, because Eddie rarely gets any result in the top 25, but several times when I've talked to him this season, he says he's happy with his progress. So if you're realistic and all you're trying to do is clean it up a little bit from week to week, I suppose he's doing his part.
Yes. Small steps in the right direction are still the right direction. So I don't know if he's been here before on this track, but he's still young. I think he's the same age as me. And so far he's looking good on the sled. It's a clean run going into 10.
24 years old. Is that the same age?
That is the same age.
Okay.
Very young. Oh, and he had some big mistakes right there. But he cleaned it up and is back on track. But that probably won't be enough for a second run.
It will not, and he'll just have to sit and wait for the next 2 or 3 minutes to see if it'll be enough to get him into the team relay, because his much more experienced teammate, Vali Cretu, is getting ready to go at the top.
Yes, he was really high there at the end of 11. Too early onto 12, which makes him really low in the first part of the curve. And now there's a lot of pressure onto 13 right there. Really early, and then he just skated all through 13. And there, yes, too early onto 14, and then, well, your run is basically done right there.
Here's Valentin Cretu, 35 years old, one of 3 athletes in today's race who actually took part in the 2010 Olympics here in Whistler. Congratulations to Vali and his wife. They welcomed their second child, a daughter, last month back home in Sanaia, Romania.
That's amazing. Congratulations as well. He just had a little bit of, it looked almost like a skid right there when he was steering towards the curve. But other than that, the run looks really clean right now. He's really experienced, so he's know what he's doing on this track.
Vali, a very likable, very respectful guy, and he's very candid about how frustrating it is to keep up with the rest of the world in terms of equipment, as he has a 25th place finish. It's always a small little victory when the number on your bib is lower than the place in the standings, but still no top 20 for Valentin Cretu.
Yes, I know some years where Valentin was doing a good job sliding and had some solid results as well. But over the past 2 years for Romania, it's just been really hard to keep up.
We will see Valley later on today with Karina from women's singles and the doubles teams, as Romania is penciled in to take part in team relay. And you know what, Lisa, I spoke a little too soon about the Canadians, because we do have one more Canadian trying to get into the top 20. This is Dylan Morse, 20 years old, part of this under 23 competition as well. Dylan has had some World Cup experience this season to go along with some junior World Cup action. His best result was a 25th place at the World Cup in Winterberg. So he has a pretty tall task to try to break into the top 20 here. He'll need to be again within 73 hundredths of the lead. I should say, yes, 73 hundredths exactly.
Yes, and that's actually, it's tight, but he's only 3/10 or 36 hundredths back right there. So if he's having a clean run, I think it is possible to get into the top 20 right there.
This would be exciting for Canada. He's got to keep it together. This will be very tight. His last split time was the 23rd fastest, so he'll need to pick off a few here. Not the best lines.
And also really late into 16, which will cost him some more hundredths of a second.
So 25th, no second run for any of the Canadians, but let's lay out and hear these Canadian luge fans show their appreciation.
Yeah, it's a really great crowd here in Whistler. Usually there are not so many visitors here, so that makes it a lot more fun to slide here as well.
I think most of them are the European parents and
yes,
family members.
And Australians probably.
Right.
But yeah, I think a lot of families saw the opportunity to come to Canada and watch some great sliding here, which makes it amazing for us sliders to have a really cool crowd in the finish.
Canada will be part of the team relay a little later on today, coming off of that memorable 4th place finish yesterday in women's singles by Ember Susko. 2 now remaining here in run number 1 of the World Championship men's singles competition. This is Walter Wikström from Finland. He was actually born in South America before moving to Finland. Lisa, I don't know how much you've talked to Walter, but he's got a great attitude. He's a very calm guy. He's very good-natured. He knows his place in this sport right now, where he's just trying to fight it and get a little better with the FIL team. Tell people what that FIL team is all about.
So basically, if you're from a nation like Finland who don't have their own luge federation, who can put up trainers for you, you can join the FIL team and you will travel the season with them, and having coaches there who will also take care of the sled, and you will basically learn how to slide there, because usually I don't know when he started luge, but I don't think it's been a long time ago.
3 years, I think he said.
And oh, that was really early on to 13, but he managed to stay on the sled. That's the hard part. We are usually, the Europeans or the Americans, are learning sliding at a very young age, and a lot of people who are in the FIL group are starting maybe with 18 or 20, which makes it so much harder to learn all the tracks and sliding well. So they are all really brave for doing that, actually. And
sure.
I think he's still got a lot to learn, but he's doing a great job so far.
29 down, and again, only the top 20 will qualify for the second run with 1 remaining. Alex Gufla of Italy sits in 20th place, but his place, as we see again, the skidding by the Finnish athlete, who did make it to the finish. I had to get that in. The last to go is very well a possibility of getting into the top 20, because Latvia's Kaspars Rinks is only going last here in run number 1 because he had a crash in the qualifying. So not only is he gunning for the top 20, he's hoping for a podium position later today in the under 23 category. Rinks, 21 years old, from Ropas, Latvia, and he's spent some of this season among the seeded athletes.
Yes, he's had some great races. He can be really fast, but I think he's also one of the guy with the most crashes maybe. I'm not sure, but he's having either really good runs or he's crashing. So let's hope he has a good run right now.
Call it fly or die. Are we still allowed to say that?
I think it's okay. And I think he's doing a great run so far. And also with the time, it looks like he could really qualify for the second run right there.
It goes from 43 hundredths back now to 55 hundredths back. That is currently the 18th best time. Gufler of Italy on the bubble in 20th. Will this be a top 20? It is. 17th place for Kristers Rinks. So our final sled of run number 1 does provide a little bit of drama for the competition. Unfortunately, it was bad drama for Italy's Alex Gufler, who gets knocked out of the competition in the final sled. So as Kristers Rinks is helped off the course, he'll go number 4 in run number 2 as they will go 20-1, counting them down to Max Langenhan. Results coming up now. As you'll see, it was a big lead, but Nico and Felix cut into that lead on the last couple of sleds. Jonas Mueller still very much in the hunt for a podium, as is Fischnaller. Lisa, it's all of the same names in slightly different positions, but as always, everyone's chasing Max. Can they catch him in run number 2?
I think it is possible. Nico showed off that he's close to him, but it's gonna be hard. They'll have to have perfect runs and really good start times, but I think it's gonna be a really exciting second run to see who will be world champion.
You heard it from Lisa. She's basically, if you read between the lines, she's saying, don't go away. Don't miss it, because we've got a great second run to decide the World Championship coming your way. And for those of you watching live, that's just about 30 minutes from now as we rejoin the action. So for Lisa, I'm Tim. We'll step away for a moment, but back with run number 2 from Whistler in just a little bit.
Down to that tent just down the hill, where we're serving up those fantastic raclette sandwiches. We've also got gourmet split burgers.